On this one, I pretty much just put my nose to the grindstone and just see how much I can bust out in a weekend. Let me tell you, it's a lot. Let's go. In order to get this weekend thrash started, there's a lot of stuff I got to paint black. One of the major things is the rear end housing here. As you can see, I already got it in a self-etch primer. It's good and dry. In order to paint it black, I'm actually going to go ahead. I'm going to attempt to spray POR 15. So I have a satin black POR 15, and then I also have their solvent. And this is what you can kind of dilute it with or thin it out, and they say up to 5%. So just a splash. I'm just going to use, I have a Harbor Freight gun here. I switched it over to the 1/8 tip just because I know that stuff's really thick. And if it doesn't work and junks the gun, whatever. This gun is so dumb cheap, which also makes me a little afraid. But also, it'll be fine. Like, if it doesn't work out, I mean, I can always just roll that stuff on. I want to try to spray it. I want to see how well it sprays, just so I know that that's an option in the future. May as well try it. So I'm going to mix some of this up, and then I'm going to get to spraying on this and get some more parts ready, because if this goes good, I'm going to spray the rest of them the same way. Once I got the gun dialed in, I did a medium wet coat, medium light coat, I should say. It's kind of having a little weird reaction to it. Maybe I didn't put it on quite thick enough. Maybe I used too much solvent. I don't really know. But we're going to see. I'm going to let this kind of dry up and then do like a medium wet coat. I think I'm going to hit it with 3 coats because I got plenty of paint to do it. Hindsight, probably shouldn't have put the solvent in there for the 1/8 tip. But yeah, it's still going to get paint on it. It's still going to get covered. It should still get sealed. So we're going to see how this turns out. Other than that, I'm going to get some more parts ready to get sprayed. Just got done cleaning up my gun. I just use acetone in order to clean it up in a spray bottle. Make sure you do that like right after you get done using it. Otherwise, it's going to like gunk up your gun and make it completely junk. Don't want that at all. Hindsight, if you're going to dilute it, I bet you could run the 1/4 tip instead of the 1/8. And you could probably run the 1/8 tip without any of the solvent to dilute it with. It did run a little thin, but like I said, like that combination, I'm going to try it on the next set because, I mean, I have a smorgasbord of parts out here that got sprayed, but there are a few more that I need to spray again, like tomorrow, I think, because I don't have enough room or enough stands or enough stuff to like hold up the rest of the stuff that needs to be sprayed, like front control arms and stuff like that. So when I do that, I think I'm actually going to try the 1/4 tip and then not use any solvent in order to thin it out. So works quite well. Didn't know you could like spray that stuff, but you can. Here we can see results. It's really shiny right now because it's wet. You can see my runs because yeah, how thin it was. But it is a semi-gloss black, so I'm guessing that when it starts to dry up, it's going to get a little bit less shiny than this, which is going to be nice. Got all my my Keltrex made up bars. Here's my sway bar here. More parts, more parts, more parts. So yeah, got that all knocked out. They're all looking good. Like I said, I'm going to give this all overnight to dry before I start assembling everything. I think the next thing I'm going to tackle is the dash. I want the dash like all black. What I'm going to use for that, nothing special, just spray paint. So I got some GM satin black, and then I got some flame proof satin clear because this is the only satin clear that they had. I know that when it's the flame proof stuff, in order to get maximum whatever, you're supposed to like bake the thing. Not going to bake it, but that should just give us some UV protection. I think it does. I don't even know now that I think about it. But I think all clear coats give, I don't even know. I wonder. Somebody let me know if you know, if this is going to give me UV protection. If not, whatever. I'll end up maybe just wrapping the top of the dash in a satin black. But either way, I gotta paint it black. It needs to be all black. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to scuff that dash up, mask everything off, and give it some paint. New day. Time to get after it. I really want to get this rear end assembled, so let's go. Rear end is all assembled. I was going to time lapse it, but it'd be the longest time lapse in the history of ever because it took me 6 hours to get all this in. I had to do a little bit of modification to the sway bar. I had to it was a little too close to the housing or the third member. So I made some brackets to kind of shove it up and out of the way. But this is all looking real sweet. Got the brakes on. I also had to do some modifications in order to get the brakes and everything to work. All the lines, just have the hard lines to run. This is awesome. So now I'm gonna move on to the front end. Final assembly is always so satisfying. Running QA1 coilovers on this thing. I got the 600-pound springs because I'm not sure because of the supercharger if it added weight. I guess we're going to find out how it rides. If I think it's a little too stiff, I might switch over to the 500-pound springs. It's looking real good. Obviously, I still have to do an alignment and stuff like that. So the toe isn't adjusted and the camber isn't adjusted, but it's all there. Just needs to be kind of unbolted, whatever shims needed, put in and tightened all back up. But sweet. Next. How about an engine and transmission? Let's throw that in there. That'd be cool. Wake up, biatch. We got work to do. Whoo. Yeah, that's pretty. So I have to separate the two because I need to put a flex plate and a converter in there. For my converter, got a Circle D unit. They were kind enough to send me this after I sent them the full asking price because that's how it works for me. Very expensive. I believe it's a 3,000 stall. Nothing crazy because it is mainly a street car, but it should have good track manners at the same time. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna pull these out, separate them, get it all ready, and then throw it in. Got the Circle D converter put in. They say on their website you only need about a half a quart of ATF, but I put a full quart in there. I'm gonna be running the Mobile One synthetic LV ATF HP. Here it's pretty good for the GM transmission, so we're gonna give that a shot. Got my flex plate torqued down 74 foot-pounds. So now I gotta put the two together, and it should be ready to be thrown in the car. Idiot. So I'm going to put it in and I'm looking, I'm like, I never painted my Dirty Dingo engine mounts. So those things have got to come off, get a quick coat of black, and then go back on because those are bare metal. That's no bueno. So pause, paint, put it back together, throw it back in. Check it out. So I went ahead and kind of picked up my mess, a lot of the stuff I had lying around, and I went and got the torque converter to flex plate bolts in, torque to 45 foot-pounds, no more than an 1/8 inch play in between the flex plate and the converter in order to make sure you still have the pump engaged. It's kind of key. And then I took the stock transmission dipstick, which used to come out like way up here, like the truck style and out because it's a 4L80E. I kind of bent it a little bit, made it come out there and kind of cut it up. And then it's mounted on a rubber isolator in order to be right there. So it's nice and low and out of the way and not some weird thing up here because it's just going to get in the way of the supercharger anyway. So I think that's going to work out nicely. But yeah, I'm just going to start throwing stuff at this thing until I have nothing left to throw at it. Guess I really never explained the specs on this engine. It used to be a 4.8, but it has a stroker kit from Summit Racing, the LS Pro series. So now it's like a 6-liter-ish. So it's bored 40 over with a 4-inch stroke. But it's still, you know, the iron block, got ported and polished, 706 heads that I did myself. It's got the BTR full bell train in it. Also, their stage 2 positive displacement blower cam, so it matches up with LSA nicely. And as you can see, it's got the LSA blower on top of it. Basically bought the core, replaced that inner spring piece because that's what always went out on those. That's where these used to be so cheap. Now they're not, and kind of hard to come by. So now it's just a solid instead of like that spring tensioner thing in there. And then it's a brand new lid. And then I have ICT billet because you need the adapters in order to fit it to a cathedral port because these are a rec port style. So these little guys right in there. So it's a huge pain in the butt to get everything lined up and the bolts all to go blip. And then it takes forever to go around this and around and around and around and around in order to get it cinched down nice and tight, but don't tighten it too much because it's easy to strip out those head threads. What else? So the serpentine system I kind of made up myself using ICT billet stuff because of the whole spacer stuff issues. Still got to slap all that back on there. And then the fuel system. So I'm running Snake Eater. I think they're 98-pound injectors on this one. And then I want a return style. So I took out the little the pressure release valve inside the return. So that's actually a 4AN fitting. So I got a 4AN to 6AN line that comes back around here and then goes into my fuel pressure regulator, which has a boost reference so that it can always maintain its 60 PSI or 40, or what is it, 58, whatever, around 60 PSI. But I got a manual gauge on here. And then I also have a pressure gauge that the Holly will be able to go off of. And then also a flex fuel sensor so I can run E85 and that will shoot back down. That's my return right there. And then the feed in is right there. I'm gonna run 8AN feed in, 6AN return back. And then I'm running the Motion Raceworks steam vent port kit. So that's what all these black lines are for here. And then it goes into this block to the Motion Raceworks setup. And then it's a 4AN line that I'm gonna run back out to the top of the radiator when that's set and done. Other than that, I mean, it's pretty much it. But yeah, it's getting pretty wrapped up. I don't know, what do I want to do next? I guess let's finish up the serpentine system here, and we'll pick it up back from there. I want to put the wheels on it. I want to set it on the ground. I just want to see what it looks like. That's kind of where I want to end this one. But man, this thing is seriously. Let's back up and look at this. I had a moment where I was working on the car and I started giggling to myself and got slightly emotional because I'm like, this is coming together so nicely and looking so good. Yeah, I'm digging this. Digging this a lot. There we go. Front accessories all buttoned up, belts on. That belt was actually really hard to come by for the exact length that I need because you need it to be like right in that sweet spot of tension. But yeah, I am super excited about this. Like I said before, but man, this thing is coming together. If you guys made it this far in the video, really appreciate it. Hit that like, hit the subscribe. And look at how sick this thing is looking. Absolutely love it. But there is a lot more to go. I mean, all the plumbing, the wiring, interior, stuff like that. But shouldn't be too long before we get this thing running and ready to drive. Thanks for watching, guys.